Everyone knows exactly what she's talking about.
Okay, so we have, is that the mic with you? And then we have a couple of hands in the back, right over there, and then, okay, let's go. Thank you. Yeah, you can go.
Oh, me?
Yeah, with the mic, yeah.
Hello.
Hey, Mommy, well, first of all, this has been so incredible to witness what's on screen, and I'm so, congratulations.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
amazing. So much of Rami was, there was like this understory of what New Jersey plays as a role, and I was just wondering, I know that you don't want to represent, you're very kind. But it does feel like if we were in the writing room, like, how would you describe New Jersey? Who is New Jersey?
It's such a great question, because I had to describe it to people who didn't grow up in it. And, to me, I would always say and I mean this positively, but I was like, it does kind of feel like it is in the shadow of a skyscraper in New York. There is this underdog feeling that everyone in New Jersey has, and it's why I love New Jersey so much, because I think on a Muslims and just, I would say, like, Arab culture, there's this a little bit of an underdog thing, or a lot of bit of an underdog thing, but it also was like, you can kind of feel it with Italians too, and you can kind of feel it with everyone there who's just kind of like, everyone is very bound by trying to get by and figuring out how to do it, and I love how industrial New Jersey can be, and I love how community-based New Jersey can be, and I love how complicated New Jersey can be, and it is every political spectrum you could think of on one block, that's what I love for it. It has some of the most beautiful, greenest spaces, and then some of the roughest edges that you could see, and so in a way, the diversity of this campus, I think, is actually a reflection of New Jersey. Of just how you can find so much more than you would imagine, and that is, I wouldn't want to be from anywhere else, I really wouldn't. I mean, I live in Brooklyn now, but I wouldn't want to be from anywhere else. I just have to point out my own hypocrisy. Like, I'm not like, everyone's like, this hipster fuck does not live here anymore.
Right, Amazon, Prime, lots of contradictions here. Okay,
Yeah.
over here, and then we have a few hands over here, and then we can wrap up. Okay, yes.
And then you know me.
And then what's that?
I want to thank you for creating the Asal Aswad for Egyptians in America. And I'll let you explain to
Yeah,
me.
You're good.
Yeah, it's one of us. I can hear you.
So again, thank you for creating the Asal Aswad for us. For those of us who were in college, a little older, on 9/11, the concept of Rami, and now I'm number one, is a family in America.
I don't even know.
That was completely unfathomable. Because of the politics and the things you talked about. So I kept thinking, so I'm a law professor. And how did you get through the meeting? I mean, you just said ceasefire on SNL and everybody lost their shit. So how did you get through the gatekeeping, and the Islamophobia, and the anti-Arab racism, in order to get to this point? I think it's important for the young people to know whether it was mentors, whether it was, maybe it was, Rabbeinu.
Yeah.
Egyptian would tell you. And it was this, but I think it's important for us to understand how you broke through, because even though you're right, it's not just a representation of everyone in these diverse communities that you're talking about. There is a really important ceiling that you shattered, or brick wall. So how can we learn from that for our students? And also, what do you think has changed in Hollywood or whatever you
Well, no, I really appreciate it, and wow, okay, I have so many. So first off, Asa Iswit is a classic Egyptian film about this Egyptian American who goes to Egypt, and he's like so happy to be home, and everyone's just ripping him off, which is what happens basically if you go, and I've been that. So there's a couple of things. I have so much to say, so I'll say this is gonna be random, all over the place. Yeah. Okay. You said I said ceasefire and everyone lost their shit. I don't view it that way. Like you see, so this happens all the time. It's like people will kind of be like, dude, oh man, so and who? What are you talking about? Who lost their shit? Let's just really figure it out. You know, someone's like, oh man, you're giving the commencement speaker at Rutgers, and some guy said that he wrote the thing and said you shouldn't do it. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's one guy. You know, I don't think about that, and I don't think about the internet too much, and I don't think about these little things. You can't think about it that much. I really think about, no, I'm pretty sure people are gonna dig. The majority of people are gonna like this. So what I focus on in making something is, and it's the same thing. When I pitched this show, I pitched it as, it's that feeling that everyone has that they have to be different when they're inside the house or they're outside the house. So I start with the thing that I think would benefit everybody, and I think that historically that's a very Muslim thing. Muslims want to help everybody historically, not just themselves, not just their own little niche, not their whatever. They just want whoever's around them to benefit, and I try to bring that into what I make, and I really try to bring that into how I view what I do, and I guess I'm saying it this passionately because it's I really think that you have this choice, especially when you're making things artistically, to you can latch on to perceived blowback, but it is almost always just perceived. Most people are going to connect with what you're doing, and they kind of don't go out of their way to vocalize it because they just kind of assume oh yeah, this artist made a thing, and that's so cool. The people who tend to go out of their way, it's because they kind of want to jab, or they kind of want to dig, or they kind of want to do whatever. So I actually think it is almost wholly positive, and that's just how I walk around with it. So that's me, and that's the thing that allows me to kind of say, when we were making Mo, yeah, it might look wait, how did you do a thing about a Palestinian family? And for me, it was really this is a show about people who live under the table and who have to work under the table, who don't have their papers. That is, the invitation is huge. And so I think when I think about pushing things through artistically, it's about having a large invitation. And then the specifics will kind of come in, And so that's how I work on projects. Those are the projects that interest me. If it felt like it was just super, super limited, I wouldn't even want to do it. The other piece is I'm a total benefit to trends changing and to a different industry. So it's your generation, if you're okay, when you were in college, you couldn't imagine it, and that, I don't know what that's like. That is, and I talk about this even with Mo, Mo and I have 10 years, apart. I don't know anyone named Muhammad that calls himself Mo, in my age group. Everyone in his age group does, right? And so that's not a strength to who we are. It's just different now. And I'm sure there's people who are 10, 15 years younger than me that are I don't know why he's thinking he's got to go do all that. I'm going to do this, right? And so I think that there is this thing where it's thank you for the work you've done, because we are a benefactor of what you did, right? Because there were things that had to kind of be, when I hear stories from people who were in work environments and they were yeah, I had to take a sip of a drink, otherwise I wasn't going to get promoted, even though I'm Muslim. I know if I turn down that beer, they're not promoting me, right? Now you say you're sober and everyone's oh dude, yeah, I'm fasting on alcohol too, and that's amazing. And you got white girls in LA want to do Ramadan, it is just the whole, everything's shifted. So it's it's by no power of me, right? You know what I mean? There's no, that's just what it is, and it's happening, and, we're just embracing, kind of what's there, and so, and then it'll change into something else, right? But I honestly think some of it is just the time. It's just now is the time, and it has owed to no brilliance by me or anyone I work with. It's just people actually kind of were ready and wanted it, and there was also a real openness in you know, I would say the 2015 to 2020 in the film industry is a lot different than the film industry the last 2-3 years. You know, so there was a active streaming war where you had streamers just taking all sorts of gambles on things. They don't do that. And I've been told right now, I'll meet people who work, you know, executives at networks, and they'll be like, dude, I love Rami, we bring it up all the time when we're talking about character stuff, making shows, this and that. Man, if you pitch that today, it would never get made. You know. But then it'll probably be different in 2030. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's I don't know, I don't take any of it personally. Maybe that's my whole answer. I don't take the success personally. When someone flips out, I don't take it personally. When someone likes it, I don't take it personally. I mean, I just kind of focus on like, what am I attracted to that I feel like I gotta do? And then there's enough of my friends and people I meet who want to do it with me, and then we just go do it, you know?
Okay, we have 3 more questions back there. Oh, okay, all the mics are up. Well, just give it as a promise. Okay, but like back row there. Yes, I don't know, like yes, right that person.
Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
I guess so.
My name is Akmal Pasha. I grew up here, Hackensack, I went to Al Ghazali High School. I don't know if you remember that. Shout out. But I am a Rutgers Newark student, and I also represent the Muslim Student Association here on campus. Wow. I just want to hear more about your experience here at Rutgers as a Muslim. When you said Starbucks, like everyone still hangs out there actually. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But now we have a prayer room on campus.
Oh wow.
There's probably 3-4 Muslim orgs on campus as well.
Wow.
So I just want to hear more about your experience here.
We used to pray at the Starbucks. That's probably why they made the prayer room. Starbucks was like, what the hell? It was amazing. I mean, I met so many of my friends that I have today here. You know, we have a group chat that started here in 2010, still going strong. Probably hasn't missed a day in 15 years. Yeah, it's pretty wild. You know, anytime someone crosses into the country, we wipe it completely. But yeah. But you know, I had just great relationships and a great time. That's the thing I probably took from here. I took a lot from here. I took educational things from here too, like a lot. And it was all part of community though. It was really, you know, I just met such great friends, and I think I saw being Muslim here worn in a very just like cool way, like a cool social way. You know, it was attractive, and people were really kind and very just open. And then it's just that whole thing of being with a bunch of adults. It might have been the first time just being with a bunch of adults who are, you know, hey, let's go pray, and then let's go eat, and then we gotta go to class, and it was all kind of like baked in a really cool way. Yeah.
Wait, these two. Okay, yes. The last row. Yeah, right in front of you, Anthony.
Hi.
Hey.
So I wanted to circle back to the topic of code switching, not to sound redundant, but as a Sudanese American, I find that my code switching often reflects back more when I visit home and see my family and my people. I wanted to ask about your experience with that, especially prior to your success and your visibility, your heightened status, and just all the expectations that our Arab parents have for us.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely something I've felt and written about, and like, you know, that's actually the movie she referenced is what it's all about, Asad Aswad. And I think anyone would love that movie, English or Arabic. It's a very funny movie. But I feel that same thing, you know, especially when I go to Cairo, and you know, I even have like little cousins who are so. What's really interesting is that kids who grow up in other countries are very tapped into their local culture, but because of the internet, they're super tapped into American culture too. So they know every reference here at this point, and I know none of their references. So when I show up, they're just roasting me. They're like, dude, get the hell out of here. Like, they're criticizing my Arabic. Like, I'm actually like actively uncool with my younger cousins. So it's very humbling. and you kind of hang out with them and you go, what are you guys listening to? And then they show you a music video of a guy that, you know, is like a local rapper, and it genuinely has more views than like anyone I know with a TV show. And you go, how is that even happening? And so the media market and culture and global culture, I think, is probably being more defined by where we came from than where we are now. Again, it's what we were saying, like everything's just like flipping, and I'm kind of really excited by it all, because I just go to Cairo and I'm like, all right, you know, I tried to do the code switch thing and it's not even gonna work, that they see through me. So I just show up and try to be a student of my younger cousins who are just way cooler.
Okay, right here.
I already had the mic, I'm so sorry.
Oh, wait. Oh, and it's
Whoa. I mean, you got it.
Quick, very
Yeah.
quick. How did you settle, I'll throw it to, who's next? I'll just throw it to you.
Oh,
How did you settle on the animation? Like, how did you like settle on the style of the animation?
We wanted it to feel like it was like a found VHS from 2001. We wanted it to feel as if it was something that came out but you missed it, you know? And so we really looked at what was happening then, and you know, this show is hand-drawn. That's why it took so long. You know, you can tell it's quite different from if you're watching Bob's Burgers or Big Mouth or something. You know, there's a big difference from you know how that goes.
the blue. Yeah.
First of all,
Do you have a-
news representation.
Oh wow, amazing.
I can swear, I'm loud. Hi, Robbie, it's nice to meet you.
You too.
Thank you. So, hopefully we won't have any questions for you, but
Oh,
like.
that's good, but thank you for one.
I know it's your job, I know. But like, okay, so one question I had was, so what was something that you thought was make or break for making this show? Like, what was something that you thought if this isn't included, then I can't make it, or it can't be restricted in this particular way or by this specific? Because I know you made some like nods to like Amazon, like, oh, this is on Amazon, we're making these shows. So I'm also wondering if that also was like a kind of tie-in to satirized roast in a way, but I'm just wondering like.
Here's the thing. This is the amazing thing about working on things that are low budget. They can't force you to do anything because they're not spending enough money to do that. And so I've always been in a position where I'm like, you know what, you guys can keep this low budget. I am not gonna complain and ask for more money, but in return, like, something has to literally be illegal for you to tell me I can't do it, right? And so that's been the relationship that I've had on the things that I've worked on. And I have had projects that were, you know, I've sold scripts or ideas that I went into writing, and then I ended up exiting those projects because I felt like it was gonna hit a line. And what's my line? My line is that I feel like it is more subtractive than additive. You know, so anything that ends up on a screen is flattened in some way. Everything is somewhat of a stereotype. Everything is somewhat of a trope, because it's literally not living and breathing in front of you. But it should net out more positive than negative, and that's how I view it. And so I've been part of things where it feels like this actually is net negative, and then I stop doing it. And so it's kind of like that. And I think for me, because I deal with sensitive things, it's like, you know, even something like religion. Never anything we've ever done on any of the shows we've made, we never make fun of the religion. We never make fun of, you know, honestly, what anyone holds sacred. We make fun of how people act with what they say they care about, or how people act, you know, under pressure. And I think we always do it in a way that is, you know, has the potential to be redemptive. You know, and that's really important for me too. It's not about just doing it to kind of be like, that person's stupid. It's almost to be like, look how conflicted that person is. Oh man, I am that person too. You know, and so a lot of it is about pointing it. You know, what direction is it pointing? And if it's kind of pointing the wrong way, then I can't do it. Yeah.
One last question. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Last question, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Okay.
Hi, Dami. Thanks
Hi.
for doing this.
Yeah.
Thanks to the folks at Express Doing for doing this. I did want to thank you for one thing also, which is really touching on the Black experience in your show and really showing that there's a lot of parallels and similarities between the Muslim experience in America and also the Black experience. Obviously not the same, but parallels exist.
And
I
then
did-
Rami really intersect those ideas. a lot.
Yes, especially in the second season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, definitely. But I did want to ask you about more current events. So we see, the show that you have right now, it talks about very serious issues like FBI entrapment, which obviously impacts Muslim Americans and a lot of other Americans as well. It impacts us very directly. We have right now Israel's war on Gaza, which obviously impacts us also as Muslims, as Palestinians, as Arabs, very directly. We see the material impact on us and on our communities. And now you have this show and you have to tour for it and do all these big things for it, and this is something that you have to do. So how do you really balance between your feelings and your emotions, and these things they're very real for us. They may be entertainment for others and it may be laughable for others. They watch it, they go home, and that's it for them. But for us, it's our everyday, it's our reality. How do you really balance between that? How do you keep pushing yourself forward? How do you keep pushing yourself forward when you see what's happening in Palestine, what's happening in Gaza, and you see what's happening also within our communities, and you see it happening again. And you mentioned this earlier, how you wish that this would be something that would be of the past, but we actually see entrapment coming back, we see deportations coming back, we see everything that you've talked about in your show coming back, and on steroids. So how do you really cope with all that? Thank you.
Look, first off, thank you, and it's a really great point. It's probably something that I grapple with a lot, and a lot of people I know who have to be public right now grapple with, because you're looking at the most horrific things on your phone, and you're speaking to people who are actively losing loved ones. The sheikh who did the janazah prayer for my grandfather a few weeks ago has lost probably over 50 members of his family in airstrikes in Gaza, and so to be in that room and then to be in a comedy club room, and you go, what's that? That distance is incredibly wild. I look at it this way: it's like we're all just kind of these small microcosms, and we're all. No one here can fully solve everything, but we're chipping away. And so I think about even like the principle in our tradition, which is you have to grow where you're planted, right? And so I'm here in a very specific place and been given the opportunity to do specific things. I try to do those to the best of my ability. And there are atrocities happening to people. Like, we're in Newark right now. There's atrocities happening to people 15 minutes from here, and so. And that's really real too. So I view it, the volume's very loud. People don't know where to go, people don't know what to think about, what to care about. And so this kind of work, if it's with a joke or to get to be in a room and talk about 10 different things, and one of them is the thing that is like super sensitive, and I think over the last however many years, I don't think I've ever really been in a room where I haven't, mentioned something that is like bleeding inside me that's like super important, and then also just like joked around and riffed around and kind of just be present in where we are. And so I just think that it's this really kind of unfathomable calculation to kind of hold it all. And I think some days I do it better than other days, and so some days I'm like, oh wow, that there was some balance there, and I feel like I actually might have done something that maybe helped, and then other days you don't know. And so the answer is really it's just this active wrestling match in my head, and then you just kind of pray that it is nets out positively in some way. And I guess the hope is if we all do that, then that would be good. Yeah.
Thank you for this, and I just want to thank you all for being here.